Yeah, listen to that, baby. Always starting with some good music, right? Come on with it. Well, how is everyone doing? Welcome to the show. My name's John Pappas, and welcome to InferenceSwap.com. Go there to subscribe. You are listening to Table Talk with me, John Pappas, and I want you to go to your Apple, iTunes, and subscribe on your podcasting app to Inference Swap Radio to get Table Talk on it. The reason why it's called InferenceSwap.com because we're always trading ideas and trying to break down our presuppositions. Table Talk was an original show about the mission of God, but since the coronavirus, we're just talking about everything. We're sitting at a table and just talking. You know what I'm saying? That is what's happening. I'm sitting here with a little can of Diet Cherry 7-Up, just delicious, if you will, and just hanging out. You know, today has been a crazy day. I'm glad to be with you. So let me get a little business out of the way first. Every Sunday at 5 p.m., go to our Facebook group if you're part of One Church NWA and look for the watch party for Under the Roof featuring John and Easy P with a bunch of goofy stuff. You'll get a sermon and you'll get some worship, and I think it's great. And you'll get the kids will get their story time like we were in our missional community. So we don't want to forget that. Number 2, go to Amazon.com. Go to Amazon.com. If you like to read, this is a great time to read. Go to Amazon.com and get my book. Now, what is my book? My book is called Screaming in the Wind, and I should have had one on me, but I don't have one on me, so I can't show it to you. But go to Amazon, look up John Pappas, Screaming in the Wind. Why is the religion of Christianity actually keeping people from Christ? And I really should talk about that on here. And also, every Saturday, we're going to do a virtual coffee. So we're going to get on Zoom and have coffee together and just see what's going on in your life. So look at our Facebook group at 11 o'clock. Actually, I would go there at 10:30 because I'll post a link. Go download Zoom on any computer or device that you have a camera on, whether it's iOS or that other thing that people use, you know what I'm saying? If your phone has a camera or your computer has a camera, you can partake and we can do some coffee. And we're going to figure out how to make that fun, but we're going to do it together. And so just be looking at that. Now, this podcast you're listening to, and you can now watch at Inference Swap on YouTube. So you can watch me do this podcast, and we're working on making it better and better and better and better. As time goes on and we're in this quarantine, you see lots of changes on how the studio looks and the background looks behind me, this background behind me. But you will see, you can now watch this podcast live, on YouTube every day, and it'll also be at InferenceSwap.com and on your Apple and Google Play. So there it is. That's me taking care of business. So today I'm going to do 2 things. We are going to talk about some headlines that I'm seeing around and comment on those, and then we're going to do a little Bible study and get out of town. I'm going to go do some family time tonight, so I want to get to it. I have been so. This before we even get to that stuff, can I ask you a question? How you doing hanging with the fam, hanging with the wife, hanging with the husband, hanging with the kids? Are you playing with them? Are they getting in your nerves yet? Are they listening? Are they restless? Well, you got to have some fun with them, guys. Play some board games. Play some Uno. Do the dominoes. Remember the Yahtzee? I like Risk. There's Monopoly, the actual board game, and then there's Monopoly, the card game. We're going to make some suggestions on Sunday's show called Under the Roof of board games, video games, and what to watch. So maybe you can look out for that. It'll be a good time. But you got to make some family time. Right now, in our house, everybody's taken to their corners and are watching their shows, playing their video games, and of course, I'm in here talking to you. So this is a good time for us to be together, but don't kill each other. You know what I mean? And by the way, you got to eat healthy during this time. Now, I and my wife have been on a carnivore diet, which is an all-meat diet, no carbs, right? I have been hitting the carbs lately. I did so good. I lost 30 pounds. Kim lost 10, 20 pounds. I can't remember what it is. And now we find ourselves eating the chips. I actually had some sugar yesterday, and oh my Lord, the way it just rolled off the lips. It was so good. I had the gummy worm. It was so good. And there's just other kinds of sugar and stuff we've had around here. Right now, to fulfill my little sugar, once that sugar hits your lips, man, your whole body changes, I got to tell you. And so I'm drinking a Diet Coke, a Diet 7-Up Cherry, which is, by the way, very, very good. And it tastes real sugary, which I like. So what is going on today in the news? So let's just transition to that right now. It's a little bit scary out today. As I looked at the sources that I looked through and the headlines that I looked through, it's a little bit crazy out there right now. So I just thought I would bring up what I'm being fed through media and through media outlets. But I got to tell you, I just warn you, like, I'm staying positive. I think we should stay positive. God is good. God is in control. He knows what's going on. So despite what we see happening, let's not look at it in a negative light. Let's try to get through it with faith and with hope and in the Lord. And so as I read this, I'm going to tell you, this isn't a lot of great news today, but we have to be able to look at the facts and be real about them, and then just deal with it and then help each other. So that's my goal at looking at some of this stuff. Before I look at the COVID-19 map out of Johns Hopkins, which you can get at coronavirus.jhu.ede, which is coronavirus.jhu.ede, where the latest and greatest statistics are, I just thought I'd get some comments on the headlines today. So here's one of the things that I have going on that I think is things that are going on that I think is helpful for us to know. Right now, the United States faces its deadliest day since the coronavirus started, with more than 1,000 people killed in one night. And that's in less than one night. And so, as President Trump told us yesterday, that we need to be ready in this next 2 weeks, that it's going to get a little bit bad. Excuse me real quick. Sorry. Got the corona. No, I don't. What we're seeing is a lot of elderly, a lot of people in these old folks' homes and stuff like that. They're really getting hit hard. People in high people areas like New York, New Jersey, those places, they're getting hit really hard. And some new data came out, which I'm going to share in a minute, but in less than 24 hours, we had over 1,000 deaths. The cases in the U.S. now top 230,000 people, and the death toll is now 5,600, which is crazy, but it's still manageable. It's way more than we want. One's too many, but it could be a lot worse, and I'm really grateful the president's taking the steps that he has. Economically, things are not going good, and who knows if we keep going a month or 2 months from now. I think we can handle 2, 3, 4 months with the government stepping in and subsiding. But can you imagine all the people? Well, I don't even want to go there, but the economic place that we're in is headed towards shambles at the moment. Yesterday or today, it was recorded that 6.6 million unemployment claims were made this last week. In the last 2 weeks, it's been over 10 million people. That's 9.6% unemployment. That's crazy. That is quadruple what it was. I think it was at 3.2, and now it's at 9.6. And let's hope it doesn't get anywhere near what they're projecting, which is up to 30% if this thing goes on for months. With that said, I think we need to be in relationship virtually with each other to see if each other's okay, because this is not a time for pride. This is a time for humility. And what I mean by that is sometimes we feel like the government handouts are handouts. And I got to tell you, with as much stuff as the government has been handing out throughout time, using taxpayers' money for all the pork they put in bills and all these different things, I think we should take what the government will give and use it wisely. I think we're going to get a couple bailouts in this time. Hopefully you get your taxes, and they'll help you during this time too. But in the midst of all that, you would think that the politics of it would settle, and people would be honed in and focused only on what's in front of them, this big epidemic, this big pandemic. But it's not the case, and that's sort of upsetting. But all the way around, we're seeing politics being played. Right now, Pelosi just created an oversight committee that will oversee what President Trump's doing, which I don't really have too much of a problem with. I want to see the money that's going to these corporations and banks. I want it to be I want there to be oversight, so it gets to the small businesses and gets to the workers. A lot of times these places hoard money and lay people off and let it be what it is. We have to think about each other. We have to go bigger than that. And I think utilities and things like that should be on hold right now. We should be allowed to have those things, honestly, for free until this is over, because this is a flip the bill to the United States or to the states, if you will, but not to the average person. Nobody should lose their home. Their lights should not be going off. And whether they need air conditioning or heat, that should not be something that's taken away during this time. One of the crazy things that we're seeing right now is that the food pantries have never been more active. I heard today on the 5 that I have it written down somewhere, that there were 3-mile-long car lines to the food banks, and many of these people are first time to the food banks, and it's almost like they're going to call in the National Guard to help these food banks, because the food's there, they just don't have the help. In Democratic news, if you want to call it that, or political news, Pelosi created an oversight committee. They're not letting this crisis go to waste, if you will. The Democrats on the left, so there's good Democrats in the middle, but there's the left people that are pushing the Green New Deal, and they're prioritizing those things in the infrastructure bill for clean water, or well, at least that's under the guise of it. And Chuck Schumer came out today and he said, I quote, we need to get big, bold, and we need to get green on this new infrastructure deal, which is phase 4, which is the next bailout package that is going to come towards the American people. Governors like Governor Gavin Newsom out of California is now saying that in this crisis, we now have a chance to reshape the America as it is, and the political system and how it governs. So this is a time that we need our representatives to represent the Constitution and to get in their way. So there's just a lot of things going on in the landscape of America right now. Jesse Waters from Fox News just said there's no way to sugarcoat it, that this is going to hurt America for a little while, and we're resilient, we can get through it, but the economics and the unemployment of the millions are there to save the thousands. So the question I have for you, is this inspiring to you or foolish that millions of us are going to have to go through unemployment, put our jobs on hold, our finances on hold to save the thousands? Man, this is where, if you want to go into it a little bit here, does God play a role in all of this? How does, your belief and your faith, would it shape your values right now? I would say they do. If you have an evolutionary mindset, then your mindset's going to be for self, and then so the strong survive and the weak die, right? If you have a biblical mindset, one that is focused on God and living that out and biblical principles, you're going to say every life matters, even those who have low immune systems, even those that are older. So, those things do play out in real life. We know that laws are just nothing more than moral statements and the imposition of them. So what we believe about things actually plays out in the world around us. And as we're in this crisis, we can see that, how we believe in God will determine how we love our neighbors, what we will sacrifice for, and what we won't, and who will let live and who will let die, and what will stand up for and what we won't. And this is the point of where our values need to dig in, because they're going to be challenged in crisis. On the other side of this, we just don't know what's going to come out of the other side. So again, our values will be challenged. What we believe about God will be challenged. And there's going to be hurting people on the other side. Who would have thought 2 months ago that this would be the American we knew? I was making plans to start a second church. I was making plans to go raise funds to do this, to help the people that are stuck in religion get out of it and become disciple makers and see the beauty of Matthew 20:18-20, or 21:18-20, where it says, "Go make disciples." You know what I mean? Like, we need to get back. You know what? I'm on the topic of religion right now, so let's talk about it. I had a conversation today with a great guy from Assemblies of God headquarters, and we were talking about what will church look like on the other side of this, because churches hang on the fringe of economics, and it shouldn't be that way. Churches hang on the fringe of leadership, and there's an economic issue in the church. There's a leadership problem in the church. There's a fivefold problem in the church. And then, of course, there's a systematic problem or a structural problem in the church. Now, I don't say this to be mean. I don't say this to look down on anybody or think that I'm better than anybody. But when looking at the function of what we were called to be through the eyes of a sending God who had continually sent things and people through the Old Testament, who sends his Son, who sends us the Holy Spirit, who sends me and you, and then gives us the Great Commission to start from, then we see that we have been stagnant like a ship at a harbor for way too long. And our churches are really set up for a world that does not exist. And we were talking at the Assembly of God headquarters today of how, after 9/11 happened, there was an increase in church attendance for 3 weeks after. So we're looking like what happens on the other side of this spiritually. But the 4th week became a great decline. And we've seen that decline exponentially ever since. New statistics were out right before the coronavirus thing that that were saying we were down, I think, another 12% over the last few years, and that atheism and the non-religious people or non-affiliated people were up 26%. So that tells us, like, it just gives us a chance to pause and hear people like me. Now, they say I speak too much into the future about these things, but I've been calling out, what kind of Christianity is it that we have that doesn't put spirituality and walking together? Just because we have a belief doesn't mean that belief is accurate. You know what I'm saying? In everything else, there's facts, right? In mathematics, you have to know the equation, the facts of the equation to get the proper answer. In science, what we want data to make proper, good inferences, at least, right? And I would say that it's true in Christianity, especially. Now, all the other religions, they don't matter. You know what I mean? I'm not, that's another podcast, another show. But they're so far off from the truth that Christianity is historically based in reality, and therefore it's truth oriented. Jesus himself doesn't say, I am a way, I am a truth, I am some kind of life. He says, I am the way, the truth, the life. You get what I'm saying? And so facts matter. And as we look at the statistics about what has been happening to the church, we need to understand that now is the time to get back to the basics. What is it that we were actually called to go to? Where is your fivefold ministry? Where do you walk in that? Are you a teacher? Are you a pastoral kind of a heart? Do you gather people naturally? Do you break new ground? Are you speaking into the future? Are you speaking black and white and really, I should say, protective of the gospel? I can tell you that no question about it. I'm more prophetic, and I have a sense of truth when it comes to what we're called to do, and I have a sense of protecting the